Welcome back, everybody, to In the Loop. What is up, everybody? My name is Michael Burpo, and thank you for joining us for another episode of In the Loop. So we're actually doing something a little bit different. We are speaking with two jewelry store owners in some rather small towns, and we're going to talk about what's working for them, what's not, what their competition is like, and how they use their digital presence to stay relevant in such a crazy time. And I'm joined by Ben Smithy, and we're going to talk to them all about what they're doing in 2021 and going forward. So it should be a really interesting interview, and we're hoping to do a lot more of these in the future. So definitely let us know if you like this and stick around. Thanks, everybody. And this episode is brought to you by Punchmark, the jewelry industry's leading website provider. Join the community of nearly 500 other jewelry stores choosing Punchmark's easy-to-run and e-commerce-enabled website platform by visiting punchmark.com for your free trial demo. And this episode is brought to you by the Smithy Group, a digital growth agency that helps leaders and businesses dream bigger and achieve multi-generational integrity. Through insights and intelligence, digital marketing, and advertising solutions, they help businesses expand their business and grow their revenue. The Smithy Group has helped hundreds of businesses surpass their goals and believe that whatever your business, whatever your story, that will make it matter to your audience. A very special thank you goes out to Podium for sponsoring this week's episode, and you'll hear a little bit more about them later on in the show. Thanks, everybody. Enjoy. In the Loop is going to be giving away a pair of Apple AirPod Pros, and you can be entered in to win these AirPods by leaving us a rating and review on Apple Podcasts, following at the Smithy Group and Punchmark websites on Instagram, and DMing a screenshot of your review to the Smithy Group. You can learn more about this giveaway by going to punchmark.com/loop-giveaway, and these reviews really help us grow, so thank you very much in advance. Thanks, everybody. All right, everybody. So I am joined by two jewelers today, Todd Mutzig and Jeff Gunsviller. And I'm also joined in with my partner in crime, Ben Smithy. How are you guys doing today?
Doing excellent.
Great here.
Doing great.
Love it, guys. So maybe we can start this whole thing off. Todd, could you just let us know where you're located and what your store kind of primarily focuses on?
We're in Tahlequah, Oklahoma, small little town. 18,000 people, exactly between Fayetteville, Arkansas, and Tulsa, hour each way. And really, because we are out here by ourselves, we pretty much try to focus on everything. Our prime market is that we're going after is the more high end. And whenever I say high end for us, I mean, because we are in a rural area, it's more about quality jewelry, not so much about just high end designer type of things. It's just more so about quality jewelry.
Very cool. And Jeff, what about yourself?
So our store is in Traverse City, Michigan, which is about 5 hours north of Detroit. Traverse City is a town about the same size, about 15,000 in the town proper, right on Lake Michigan. And we are kind of in a weird area too, in the sense that we don't even have highways here. So the closest city is Grand Rapids, if you will. So Grand Rapids is about 3 hours away, but outside of Traverse City, like I grew up in a small town, like 30 miles outside of Traverse City. Our family's always had this store here, but Traverse City is like the hub for all of these small towns. So our shopping area is probably like an hour in every direction. The other unique thing about Traverse City is we're massive nationwide tourist destination, and it's changed drastically over even the last 5 years. We've always had a lot of tourism in the summer, but when I was younger, it was more like, just like the camping and boating tourism. And it was more like within the state and within the Midwest. But there's been several things that given Traverse City the exposure to bring these people from all over the country. And now even, we have international tourism. Certain things have brought international tourism. So it's just a whole different dynamic from when I was growing up. So there's a lot of opportunity, but a lot of change too. So.
And Jeff, you were saying that the city it doubles or triples in size during the summer, right? During tourist season. What's that look like?
It's probably more than that. When I'm giving so our total county, I think the county probably has around 90,000 people, but it's a big county. But in the summer, yes, it's probably more than doubles. The infrastructure here isn't built for the people that are here, but there's a lot more hotels now, and obviously Airbnb is a huge thing, and we have a ton of restaurants, and great, a lot of things to do, but there's challenges that come along with it, but it's a good problem to have. And our store is right on like the main street. And Todd, you're in a downtown too, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And I love being in the downtown, because there's times when I was growing up where like, I remember we added our town got its first mall when I was in like elementary school. My parents were so scared. They were so scared. And the downtown at that point wasn't like revitalized. It was just kind of blah. And it's cool to be a part of like a super vibrant, like lots of stuff happening, and really a downtown that's constantly like looking to move forward. And we're like, the block that we're on is probably the busiest foot traffic area in the whole region. So it's fun.
And there's an interesting nuance just before we dive into in relationship between Todd and Jeff's family too, right? Todd, didn't you guys back in the day have a group together?
Back in the day, we were in a skull group and absolutely loved Beth, and didn't know that many years later I would be meeting and in groups with her son.
There you go. And they were both at my wedding.
Yeah.
So there we have that in common. So good times were had.
Man, what a cool! I've loved seeing how tight knit the jewelry industry is. It's definitely one of my favorite parts about working in the industry is how it seems like everybody knows each other. It seems like a very extended family, especially when you get into some of the different buying groups. I feel like everybody knows everybody and likes everybody, which is not super common.
And the kindness and just the willingness to share. I mean, we really are in a great industry.
Very cool. So it sounds like your guys' businesses are pretty reliant on, I imagine on a main street drag, because I'm from a town of less than 4,000 people, so very small also. I imagine that it's a lot of kind of foot traffic and walking around, so people stopping by. Has that changed, of course, with the hitting of this pandemic, but also with what your strategy is? Is it like more signage as opposed to anything else? Or how do you get people to actually come in and start shopping for jewelry?
I think wherever you're at, you're a destination. And, that's what we are downtown. Yes, our downtown is a cool place to be, and it gives us a really good atmosphere for people to be able to come to. But I really, really, really think that we are still a destination store. Our downtown does not, it has people coming down for, a burger or this or that to shop a little bit, but really it's not enough to be able to support what it is that we're trying to do. So it's going outside of our downtown and creating this want to be a part of. So, when you're saying signage, signage really isn't anything that is part of our marketing mix. Primarily everything we do is digital, which is, great for you guys. But that really seems to be the way that is bringing people downtown. And even more so with the pandemic, as you talked about, more people have turned to digital, but digital as a preface to be able to go in and, have an actual experience.
Also, you do have one unique sign, though, which is also ties into digital, too. So you want to tell me about that, Todd?
Okay, on the side of our building, we are, just like Jeff, we're in kind of the main and on the corner of it. So we have a great big blank wall on the side, and we've always thought, what can we do? What can we do? What can we do? So my jeweler, who is multi-talented, decided and kind of came up with this plan to be able to put some murals on the side. So we put two. One that says love and one that says always. So all of our bridal customers, we try to get them, taking pictures out there. But one of the things that Ben helped us come up with was a hashtag. And and we live in Tahlequah. Ben came up with hashtag Tahlequah. So, and in the design of the murals, we have hashtag Tahlequah. So we try to get everybody that just comes into town or whatever to use that hashtag, which, it's just created a lot of, community fun. And it was cool. Thank you for reminding me.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's those like kind of out of the normal kind of realms of marketing. Everybody knows that, yeah, like you said, you could have signage, but taking it to cultivate that little bit of extra, that is definitely one of those things that I really hope that marketing is going to go towards. It plays on your actual emotions, and it makes it so that when they go to Tahlequah, they're not going to, it's not just another trip. They can actually have something to grasp onto and something to remember. But definitely, really kind of innovative way to do it. I hope that more people do murals. I love murals. I think that that's something that everyone should be getting on. So guys, I kind of want to talk about sort of how your online presence is going to play into your business. So I'm really excited that we have you guys on because of the location that you guys are on. You guys aren't in the heart of downtown Brooklyn or something like that. You guys aren't in the middle of Los Angeles. You guys are in slightly smaller cities, a little bit more different playing field. And I feel like a lot of our listeners and a lot of jewelers are in a similar situation. So it's all well and good for us to say, no, you got to be targeting your opponents. Do you guys have any, real competition when it comes to other jewelers in your city? Or how do you position your online marketing? Anything you guys can kind of illuminate for us?
I guess the way that I think about like competition is different now than ever. We have less jewelers in our town than we ever have, but I think about competition like more broadly than ever. We have like a Costco now, which we never had before. We have Sam's Club. We have all these tourists coming to town who have or people with second homes who have stores in the town that they either live in or, the towns they're visiting from. But our mall is kind of one of those regional malls that has died down. It looks like a trip back to the early 90s when you go in there. So it's actually like a perfect time for us to kind of plant our flag and do more than ever. Like, even though there's less competition, like I never really think about the competition though, because like once I start doing that, it's easy to get distracted and get off of like what you should focus on. So, in the last years, I've tried to just ignore any competition we might have and build our own business up as strong as possible. But right now, I think is like been a time where we can take more market share than we ever have. And the way that we can, the things that we can do digitally. And I feel like it's so nice to have Ben on my side and to have their team, because I feel like I don't know what I'm talking about digitally, but having someone who's in the know, and I want to be as aggressive as possible. So now we're trying to do as much as we can to gain more market share and focus on what we're doing or our competition's doing. And I think we're going to do now, and which we have been, we're going to do more marketing, especially more of a broad digital spectrum than we've ever done before. And I want to be as aggressive as we've ever been and then some.
Well, and there's nuance there too, is that as you've seen your competition decline, you've actually, rather than just say, hey, there's this sort of do things as we've always done mindset that can be prevalent in our industry. And I don't think any one of us on this call would deny that. But I think you've taken an alternative approach that as you've seen other people decline and as web go up and all these other things, you double down. So if you want to talk about that, you actually doubled down in your physical space too, to give a better, bigger experience to people and to your customers, which is great. You want to talk a little bit through your thinking on that too, of what the sort of thinking was behind that? Yeah.
So I guess we were in a kind of a unique position. It wasn't planned, but right when Michigan had our first shutdown last March was right when we were getting into the thick of a expansion. So when business was shut down for 8 weeks or whatever, in Michigan, construction was also shut down too. So we had a store that was all gutted. We were still open. We stayed open through everything, but I'll obviously remember the experience forever. But before this, we were growing and an opportunity came up to take over the space next to us. Our store is part of a building where you could take down the wall and expand the showroom, which is what we did. And my whole thought process behind it was just like we were talking about, the perfect time to take more market share and to feed the already kind of growing business that we had. So I think a big thing for me too is people coming. We have so many people coming from out of town, like I've talked about, and they might not even know what store they're walking into at certain times. If they're of course, we want to give them an experience where they remember it when they get to the cash register, but they might be buying something and, oh, what's the name of this place again? Because they've never been in before. But the impression that we can make with our physical store compared to what we used to be able to offer when you walk in, just the feeling that you get and the experience that we can offer. And a lot of the inspiration that I got for the store was, from outside of the jewelry industry and different retail experiences. And I wanted it to be different than any other jewelry store and be a reflection of like what I like and me. And, there's a lot of different factors that went into it. But I think the expansion of our physical store is going to have a huge impact for us.
Well, and then Todd, on the opposite side, it seems like you guys have always had a fairly large size store and a fairly good size store, but your environment's changing, right? So you've seen as a shift, even though it's not necessarily like the city's like tripling in size, you've seen things with the hospital or the local college, Cherokee Nation, things like that shifting. So can you talk to us a little bit how you're adapting your current space and offerings to the surrounding environment that's changing?
Yeah, there is so much going on in our community. I said earlier that, we were in one of the most depressed counties in all of Oklahoma, but over the last 10 years, so many new positive things have happened. And, we've gotten a medical school, which is the third one in the state. And we have one of the largest hospitals. We've got some really, really, really cool things that are going on. But we as a store have, recognized that. And it's like, how do we set ourselves up best to be able to be the store of choice for all of these new people that are moving into town? And, just like Jeff, we didn't do a full out remodel, but we did pretty much a facelift. And, just trying to do all the things so that whenever people come in the store, they can see that, hey, this place is alive. And, when your question about competition, there's less jewelry competition, but there's more competition for dollars out there because everybody is, the beauty of, and I hate to say that the beauty of the pandemic was, for small town establishments like ours, is that people were not able to go on vacations and that kind of thing. So they had more dollars. The people that did have dollars were able to spend them. So, through the pandemic, we actually, had growth and through the whole thing, which was very, very, very surprising. But I think through this whole thing, it has just been such a eye opener at how important it is to have a team and how all different facets of your business have to be working together to be able to accomplish these things. Just like Jeff, I am not the most digitally savvy person at all and don't know the first thing about websites, but, you put together a team who all works and has your same, vision and goals and all those kind of things. And whenever they all come together, it's amazing how well-oiled your machine can become. And, that's what's so exciting, seeing all this and being able to look. And at my age, that's been in the business for, 35 years, but to see so much potential ahead of me. And, it's all because of having the right people on the bus. And
someone told me it was kind of like having being a conductor of a symphony. Someone was saying that it's like, the conductor doesn't necessarily know how to play, every single instrument that's in the symphony, but you kind of know where the song is going and you know how to push and pull and how to give people a little bit more time and space. And it's a matter of kind of having an idea of the big picture and the big song as opposed to knowing and playing each individual instrument and note. And I think that's kind of like a long extrapolated metaphor for running a business.
It's a great analogy. And it really is, because there's so much of what we're doing now that I am not very well versed on. And, back in the day, marketing degree and every, business management type of thing, but everything has changed and it's so easy to be complacent and stay in your space. It's so important now to be able to get out of your own way and bring people on so that you can grow and reach potential.
Well, and I think there's a nuance here too, that as a leader, the orchestra example is perfect, right? The band plays the instruments and the conductor plays the band, right? Nice. And from your perspective, when it comes to the entrepreneurs and the business owners, when we talk about partnerships, obviously self-serving, we appreciate the external partnerships through TSG and through Punchmark. Both of you work with both of us on externally, but both of you also have built your business and changed the way it looks internally in terms of roles and responsibilities and establishing people that have internal responsibilities for things like digital and content creation and all of that. So I think it's important to tell the audience a little bit of nuance there of how you've internally prepared for this digital shift in growth.
So before, we didn't have a team. Marketing was all external type of things, newspaper, but now that digital content is so important, it is a store-wide priority. And, my jewelers, they are great at putting together, little movies and things. And it's a great outlet for them to be able to move from the day-to-day grind to be able to do something that's another creative outlet. But it's so good. Our social media people look forward to their little movies and skits. And, we have a full-time person that, basically works teetotally on website and social media. And, years ago, that would never have been. But that's what it takes to be able to be, competitive in this day and age and to be growing towards what the public wants. They want to be able to go to a website and see jewelry and to be able to do their homework. And, jewelry is a difficult thing to buy. So, I understand why I would want to go in and actually see what it was, but I want to do my homework first. And if we haven't done our homework and got the website in a way that it's pleasing and is able to be at the same level that all of the other nationals are, then we've totally shot ourselves in the foot. So, yes.
Jeff, what about on your side? You've also made changes to like staff and roles and even some ideas you've kicked around in terms of internally on like how you approach content and all of that. How has that shifted over the years for you too?
Yeah, I guess, to get to where I want to go as a business, I realized that I need to have the right people in place in different facets of the business and, not have to micromanage those people, but have the right people that you can trust to do the things that you want to do in all aspects of the business. And that's what we've built and are trying to continue to build. On the marketing side of things, we have someone internally that works for us, but is kind of like liaison with the Smithy Group and does a lot of our all of our imagery and content. And from what Ben just said, the next phase for us is trying to take our content to a whole nother level and try to be able to be a source of great education and information and get in front of some of those people before they even visit Traverse City. And, obviously a lot of that stuff can't be done by myself. And, like you said, with the orchestra, I remember someone told me a few years ago, like, our job's easy. We only have to be good at everything as independent retailers. But, it's impossible to grow and get to, if you have the growth mentality, it's impossible to, without having people you can trust, put in a position to make decisions and not have to micromanage. And I feel like that's where I've really tried to direct our ship, I guess, in that direction, to have the right people in place, whether it's marketing or sales management or, our repair coordinator, but having all those people is what's hopefully going to allow me to keep growing.
It's a really, it's a daunting task, I can only imagine, because with that comes hires and with that comes, extra ad spend and all the rest of it. But I'm kind of in a position in the jewelry industry, and we're coming, I don't want to say coming out of the pandemic, because every time I've said that, I proved myself wrong. But as we are rounding this turn into 2021, one thing I've just been a little bit incredulous about is I feel like I've been talking to some jewelers or some businesses, and they seem to still be kind of, in a holding pattern on their business. And I'm like, if nothing changes, then nothing is going to change. And I've kind of had that mentality about how our business is going to be done. We don't go to jewelry shows as much anymore. We haven't been able to. So how can we interface with our clients more? And there's a variety of different ways that we've been able to do it. But the same way when it comes to business owners, like you said, all you have to do is do everything. And I think that it comes to having that team and just putting the dollars behind what the actual vision is kind of going to get you where they go. I mean, instead of trying to be the owner of the business and run your social media and be the liaison on your website, it's like, yeah, that's enough to spin anyone's head.
I mean, right now, I feel like the only way for us to move forward and to grow is just we're taking a lot of risks. There's
I can only imagine. Yeah,
there's a lot at stake, but you just have to be all in. Like, I still have a lot of things have gone better than I could have imagined, and throughout the last months. But there's still in the middle of the night, I still wake up thinking about it and the risks we're taking. But I'm all in. It's just you have to make the decision to grow and keep moving forward. But like you said, nothing's going to change if you don't change. And
I hear Jeff say he's all in, but I also want to just reiterate that Jeff has done amazing work in foundationally preparing to be all in. You can be all in and not have done the work and make stupid decisions. But if you've done the foundational work and just built, just one layer upon another, the risk is not very, big. But so commend you on that. I mean, that's why he's able to make this, commitment and,
what is it? Luck favors the prepared mind or something like that.
Yeah. I mean, definitely.
Well prepared. So guys, really quickly, I'd like to start just quickly give our listeners kind of an idea of what your actual ad diet kind of how you're doing these markets. Because one thing that I'm trying to do with this podcast is give a very real look at what things are. Where do you guys find that you're putting a lot of focus? Are you guys doing SEO, SEM? What platforms are you focusing on? Are you doing Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest? I don't know. I'm sure that Ben Smithy is, very well versed in all those things, but I'm very interested in hearing, and I'm sure the listeners are, what a real business is actually focusing on.
So, our primary, social media platform is Facebook and Instagram. Those are the ones that we make the most effort to be on all the time. We are spending money on both of them to get our message out in front of, our target markets. We do dabble on Pinterest. We do dabble on TikTok. We do, and just to be able to be there, not so much that it's a priority, but it's just that we're there. We have a pay-per-click campaign going on. SEO, we did it for quite a while and tried to get all of our pieces on our website, all SEO'd and all that kind of thing. And then really worked on getting our different pages, our overall pages, SEO'd and that kind of thing. Because we are in a smaller market, after we did that work, we felt like, we had accomplished that. It was better to spend the money on the next
Absolutely.
thing. So now we are broadening our sphere of influence and trying to go after some outside markets. We have an hour radius draw, and we have not really focused on the outer perimeter of that. So we're really trying to put our name out there. I think in our local market, our top of mind awareness is right up there, because we're on everybody's feed all the time. So Now let's go ahead and, spread that out a little bit more. So that's what we're trying to be able to do. We are spending, and I don't know if you're just thinking digitally, but as far as marketing, I said we're not doing the traditional forms of marketing so much, but we've increased our, what we call our customer experience fund. And so, we are pumping money into that, which is actually giving back to our existing really good customers. And that's really been a fun thing, because your customers just don't always think of getting things back in return, you know? So it's really, you're going for that wow factor. And it's fun it's just like with your kids. I mean, whenever you do something for it and you wow them, it's like, okay, I did good here. Same thing with, because your clients are your family. And so that's something that we've really been pumping money into.
Yeah. So I guess it's kind of interesting to think about, because before this last year, we were gaining a lot of momentum with events and having a lot of bridal events and everything. Then we haven't had any events, obviously, in a year. And it's kind of changed some of the things that we were doing and our messaging. One thing that Ben and I have been talking about is trying to expand what we've already built. We're doing a lot of things similar to Todd, but what's next? And we've got this base that we've been able to establish, and now branching out from there and really trying to get creative and try a lot of new things and put money and time into it. And, Ben and I have talked about my goal is to create just a ton of educational content. And that's kind of the next step for us. And how can we get in front of some of our customers before they're in Traverse City, and trying to expand our market as well to people that don't live right here, and then people that are coming, traveling here on vacation. So we're doing a lot of the same things as Todd, but I think for us, like, our biggest focus is making sure we have really, really good content. I know you hear it a lot, but content is king. And we have all these things with the internet today that you can, without a lot of money and without like extreme, production, there's so much you can do and so many people you can get in front of. And sometimes I want to put in the time to, try to create the content. I know it takes time to, build it. We might not have anything work for a few years, but as long as you're putting the content out there, like, I don't think there's a huge risk. So our focus in the next year is really going to be on creating a lot of good content. And I think that's the start of it. And then,
can you just touch on what those kind of ways that you're producing content, like just a couple of examples of, different pieces that you're posting or anything like that, or how you go about posting?
So we've done, video-wise, we've done some of it, but we're kind of in the creation phase right now. But my goal is to create content that the educational content that's non-sales driven, non-event driven, that is beneficial to our customers, and can tell how we do certain things, whether it's like how we buy diamonds or how we do diamonds at Miners North. Different philosophies we have, but I want to bring value to the customers in that way. And then I think that can help open different doors for us and bring us new customers at the same time. But that's the kind of stuff I like doing too. Like, I will enjoy creating this content and, be passionate about it. And, it makes it easy if you enjoy doing it. So, and really focusing on our website. Like, I feel like our website is something that I'm never satisfied with. Like, you make all these changes and then there's some new update or something. I look at a lot of other websites outside of the industry, and my whole thing is always like ease of use. Like, whether you use companies like, I'm trying to think whose websites I love, like North Face or Nike, or, you gain insight from other people's websites. So we've really been focusing on making sure that our web experience is good as it possibly can be. And I realize that that's an ongoing daily thing that is always going to be changing. Most of our money is going, like I said, into the same things as Todd, but in a small town, we still are on one main, it's the most listened to radio station here. And we just have like a really good buy in it. So we're on a radio station too, that brings us a lot of, in a town like ours, there's still a lot of people that are listening to the radio all day. There's not a ton of stations, a lot of people that are, driving or working out of a truck all day. So we get a lot of people still hearing our radio commercials. So that's kind of the only traditional thing we're still doing, along with some direct mail that's more event driven and everything.
Guys, speaking of doing commercials, we're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back in just a couple seconds. Thanks, everybody. Our clients know that it doesn't matter how great your website is if people can't find it. Podium helps you get found and chosen by making it easy to get reviews from your happiest customers, just by sending a simple review request through text. In fact, with Podium, every step of your customer journey is powered by text messaging, so you can talk to your customers on the channels they prefer. Start the conversation on your website with Podium Web Chat. Set appointments, answer questions, and close deals all in the same thread. When it's time to pay, just send a request over text so your customers can pay in seconds. And now that you've got a happy customer, send them a review invite over text too, so you can rise up the local rankings and start the cycle all over again. With all of this, plus powerful integrations and features in one consolidated inbox, Podium is your tool for customer communication. Send a text, get more done. Punchmark clients will receive 25% off when they sign up for Podium. Learn more at podium.com/punchmark. Thanks, back to the show. All right, everybody, and we're back. Still joined by Todd, Jeff, and Ben. So let's bring this thing home and talk a little bit about the jewelry industry. Most of our listeners are jewelers, and we love them for that. But I kind of want to hear all you guys' take on where you think the jewelry industry is heading, and also any trends or kind of things you're noticing maybe about jewelry or just about the industry as a whole. Maybe Todd, you want to start us off?
Jewelry, is such an awesome thing because it marks events. It's something that, if you as a couple go on a trip, that's a great and wonderful thing. But that is not just that one special thing that is for whoever you're buying the gift for. And jewelry is awesome in that. So I see jewelry doing nothing but increasing and being more prevalent in our world. In a world that we live in that has become more casual, jewelry styles and things are changing. And, we as jewelers need to be up on that and really, trying to make sure that we have the right mixes in our store for the changes and things. And with, shows not being as prevalent, we have to be able to go and be fed in other ways. And because it's real easy, and I've noticed it in the last year, it's real easy to just go back in and refill your fast sellers, but you're not doing a really good job on bringing in new merchandise, which keeps it fresh and keeps it happening. And so therefore we need to be, really looking at other things, looking at our magazines more so than ever before. And, utilizing people that have had success with different things. Because right now, yellow gold is extremely popular, and the multiple layered chains and that kind of thing, what's called the paperclip chain, and all these kind of things are extremely popular. But if you're not out there, you're not going to be able to know those things. And so you're not going to be pulling them in. So we really got to make sure that we're trending with what is popular.
Fascinating.
Yeah, I think in my eyes, there's the opportunities there. Like there's more of an opportunity now than ever. And I think where a lot of jewelers are seeing growth, and Todd and I are similar in the sense that like we're in small towns where you kind of have to do everything as a jeweler, have a repair service, fashion jewelry, bridal, we try not to say no. If someone comes in and asks for a yellow highlighter, I'm going to try to find them a yellow highlighter. But our focus, and in the same sense, though, what I've realized is we're not Pepsi. Like we don't have an unlimited marketing budget. So you have to put your focus somewhere to try to make an impact. And I think, like Todd said, we're so lucky to have these moments and events in the jewelry industry, but our focus is on bridal. And I think there's more of an opportunity than ever in that part of our business. And that's where we are seeing our growth. And I think we can continue to grow.
I think overall, as an industry, from a retailer standpoint, from a jeweler standpoint, the focal point and the goal is changing. So if you look at all retailers as being dots on a map, right? And each dot being their location or their radius or whatever it typically is. I think if you looked at the strategy before, you would start seeing every retailer really trying to get their dot on the map as dark and as concentrated as possible. If, their circle, whatever their representation is, they've tried to get it as like completely colored in, as rich and vibrant as possible, right? But now I think that's changing because I think at a certain point, small business and family business and retail jewelers have done a really great job of getting that concentrated circle to become as full as possible. And now I think those that are investing in growth, investing in change is no longer really focused just on getting that as concentrated as possible, but how big can we get this circle to, right? And that's everything from web, that's everything from digital and marketing and advertising and the advancements in shipping times and manufacturing and drop shipping and all of this type of stuff. But I really see the focus and the competition really going is, okay, wait, not that, hey, I'm going to make sure that anybody that enters my zone is 100% aware. It's, okay, how do we expand this? And I start seeing this is the next level of competition as we start seeing circles start touching up against each other and circles start growing and growing. That's when you're going to start seeing the winners emerge because they're able to take that concentration and that density and just start stretching it out and expanding it and expanding it. And for some people that will look like expanding it by other dots all over the US, and other people it's going to look like just slowly expanding that circle from a concentric point. But whatever that looks like, right? Some people are worried about creating new circles, right? And other people are just saying like, how big can we get our current circle? And I think that's really interesting because the market will help determine that, but also how much people are doubling down, how much people are really willing to take calculated risk and say, hey, wait, this is a time to have real opportunity in our industry because it truly is.
Ben, is there any fear or is there any risk in overstretching yourself or any risk in making that circle too big but not colored in all the way and kind of leaving yourself out to dry?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's internal risk. I think it's internal operations, systems, processes, things like Todd. That was the really astute point Todd was making earlier about what Jeff did in terms of building a base and really building the systems and things in place. And Todd, you've done the same thing. I think that's what's necessary. It's not as simple as opening up your ad radius. It's not as simple as running more ads. It's not as simple as just doubling down on your budget. It's really saying, okay, do we have operations that can support that? Do I have the sales team that I trust that can manage and give the same type of education and sales service over a Zoom call, a phone call, an email, or a text message as they do in person and feel just as great on the customer side of it, right? Those type of things, you have to have those pieces in place first to start thinking bigger. But once you do so, and if you've been investing over the years in this, it's going to seem like overnight these companies have grown and scaled, but really they've spent the past 10 years investing in something ahead of the curve. And now it's really the opportune time to start doubling down.
So Ben, the only way to grow that circle or presence is digitally, right? Like that's the only way.
Well, yeah, for the most part, especially when you look at where things are going digital first, I think we're going to start to see a consolidation where we start seeing people actually creating almost mini segments of stores or little mini brands where they're saying, hey, there's a jeweler in 3 towns over that's gone out of business. Why don't I take that over? Why don't I create almost like a mini franchise, right? But I think for the most part, people are saying, wait, that's a lot of hassle. I'm uncomfortable not being able to actually be there in person on certain things. So they're saying, wait, digital, I'm able to, I've run these ad campaigns and I've seen people trickle in from here and there and across the states and all this stuff. And we're getting sales in California, but I'm on the East Coast. What happens if I actually put some intentionality around that? What happens if I do go digital in the space? I think it's the path of least resistance for sure is digital.
I think one thing I'm starting to notice, and I'm noticing it very slowly and then suddenly very quickly, is how the jewelry industry, it seems like it works kind of like a hive mind. And bringing this all back, wow, this is coming full circle of what we started with, is how friendly everybody is in the jewelry industry, but also how they share ideas and they kind of fact check each other and they compare notes. And it's been so interesting to see how you start with an idea and then it gets dispersed and then it eventually takes hold and then that becomes the new norm. And I've been trying to make a real effort as I've been promoted inside of Punchmark to make myself a little bit more substantial in the community. And as I've been looking around at these different kind of channels, it's amazing how, first of all, how open people are with their complete sales process, which is something I was not expecting. I thought there would be a lot more elbows out. But also, I wonder if people need to adopt even quicker and start moving a little bit more to, we just had, 10 years of market penetration in the digital space over the course of, 10 months or 12 months now. I was wondering, maybe to wrap this thing up and put a little bow on it, Todd and Jeff, can you guys, what was something you would give a tip or just kind of a perspective to your fellow jewelers as someone who's like a real part of it?
I would want to share because, I mean, a lot of people will call and want to ask about our social media and, things that we've done in the past. And I think that a lot of people that are aspiring to do this, I think if they just hire a digital company, just like hire Punchmark, that it's just going to supernaturally be there. They don't realize how much work needs to be done coming from inside the store. It's kind of like hiring a personal trainer. I mean, yes, you can pay them, but unless you do the work,
Great analogy.
You're not going to see any change. So my thing is to make sure that you have the internal ability to be able to hire outside and bring on professionals, because they can't do it for you. You've got to be guided and to be able to make it happen yourself.
Great suggestion. Jeff?
Yeah, I think two things. One, this is just a small thing, but what we've learned throughout this whole time and having to communicate with our customers, different than ever, whether it's through Facebook Messenger, Podium, or, customers texting us or email or making an appointment or putting a wish list on the website, all of those things. I think, we're flooded now with communication and people always reaching out to us. But just like the small thing of getting back to people right away and treating each situation, yes, whether it's about a $29 sterling silver charm or a $20,000 engagement ring, like making sure you treat all of those situations with the same urgency and building the right team to be able to respond from all these different platforms, like the inquiries that you get. I think that's one thing we've really built up is, we're getting so much communication through all these different platforms, but we have the right things in place now for, it doesn't matter if it's 11 p.m. Like if someone sees it, we're going to respond right away. So making sure that you're always open for communication. The other thing I was going to ask you about, Ben, actually, and this goes back to the last question a little bit, but do you think now, like within our industry, that as jewelers and independent jewelers, like branding ourselves as opposed to, piggybacking on other brands or whatever is more important than ever, like our self-branding and the brands that we can create internally? And where do you see like the industry going outside of like, Rolex and Yerman, I guess, like as far as brands go, what do you see now? How does that landscape change?
Yeah, I think it's going to go back to the old school where where distributor, wholesaler, and retailer started. It was really that, okay, the distributor and wholesaler is going to build something great. And now that includes a brand, right? Building a great brand. But really what has to happen is they need to rely even more than ever on the retailers to build a really strong brand that's trusted to the consumer. And so I think more than ever right now, the retailer side, like you and Todd, have to be focusing on building brand awareness, building brand equity, even equally. People talk about awareness, but they don't talk about equity. Like, what does that awareness actually mean in value? So brand awareness and brand equity from your store personally as owners, your team individually, right? It's never been more important than ever than not only the store to have a brand, but you as owners to be present and your team members to be present and have a consistent brand and something that the people and the consumers can recognize. And then therefore the brands, if they're doing their job of building a solid product, building a solid brand around it, and picking the right distribution partners, that's where you guys come together harmoniously. And we're going to see success and growth in the future for sure.
Can I ask Todd a question real quick?
Absolutely.
Todd, you said, and I know some of the things you've talked about with like your bridal experience and like the whole experience and like the things after the sale and the box, all that stuff that you do for your bridal customers. But when you were talking about investing more money into the experience, like, could you elaborate on that at all, or what you're talking about? Yeah. I don't know if you want to share all of it.
No, I totally want to share. I honestly think that it's a whole other hour subject, because I mean, that's where I truly feel like what sets us apart. I feel like digitally, the world is pretty flat. So how do we as brick and mortar bring the digital experience into this unbelievable experience? And the experience online can only be as good as all your coding and all that kind of thing is. Your in-house experience, what we used to think of customer service really is not customer service in this day and age. It's how do you make those people feel so much like family, so much that you appreciate them. And, 10 years ago, spending X amount of dollars on marketing, and, we don't do that as much because digital is not as expensive. So you have money in your budget, or you should have. And that money, if we can, earmark it back to helping create an experience for your customer, making sure that every birthday and anniversary is celebrated in some way that they know that you're remembering them, part of the bridal experience. And I'm happy to go through the entire, thing, but not only just them buying an engagement from you, but knowing when they got married and marking that, and on their first year anniversary, celebrate that. And, yes, in today's, digital age, we can keep track of all that so easily. And it's all at a, just a push of a finger, but we all get complacent and lazy, and we don't have systems in place to be able to make that really a system where we do it systematically. So that's what I'm saying in that is taking all of that information that we already have and using it. And yeah, it's difficult to be able to think of buying a gift that, a $20 gift. And I'll throw this out there. We were at the Dallas gift market, and we're walking through, and macarons, French made little cookies that are absolutely amazing, and found this French baker who will bake these, ship them for us, everything. We put our own logo on them, everything. And we've done this for 2 weeks now. And I get a text message from every one of them saying, oh my gosh, this was so awesome.
What a great idea.
Who do you give those to?
Our top 200 customers. And that
is, you're just sending them. Okay.
How are we sending them?
No, you just send them to their houses. That's what you said. Your top 200 customers.
And this baker, I send her a weekly list of who I want them to go to. They ship them for us. And it has a special note from us that she puts in there with it. She charges us $8 to ship them, and the cookies, and everything is branded and looks like us. And on the outside of the cookies, made especially for you, with Meg's jewelry on it. And so it's just thinking outside the box and trying to make that person want to shop with you just one more time a year.
Man, I'm going to lead the episode with that, because that is such a great tip. It's that little personality touch. I mean, Ben said it a million times. People like people, and people like brands and businesses that act like people. And that is just, who doesn't like getting a note from their friend that they, maybe they haven't talked to him in a year, and they send them a box of cookies, and it's like, yeah, I'm going to pick up my phone and see how they're doing, or they're going to get an invite to my wedding, or whatever it's going to be. My gosh, that is such a great personal touch.
Good. Thank you.
Guys, maybe we'll end it right there on that little bit of inspiration. That's fantastic. I can't thank you guys enough. Todd from Meg's Jewelry, Jeff from Miners North, Ben Smithy from the Smithy Group, and my name is Michael, Punchmark, whatever. I appreciate you guys. We'll see you all next week. We really appreciate your time for listening, and I thank these people for sharing their wisdom. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Mike.
Hey, thanks for listening. Leave us a rating and a review on Apple Podcasts, and remember to subscribe. It really helps us grow. Thank you so much. See you next week.